Okay, let's dive right into this. We're tackling some pretty remarkable claims today. Talk about people really changing their lives, doubling incomes, healing
Yeah,
relationships.
even recovering from deep trauma, preventing suicide. I mean, heavy stuff.
Exactly. And according to the source material we're exploring, it all seems to tie back to understanding this thing called the law of attraction and, well, applying specific techniques.
It's a compelling starting point, isn't it? This deep dive is based entirely on a conversation that a listener shared with us featuring experts in this field, Mitesh and Indu Kathri.
Right. They're presented as, well-known law of attraction coaches. And in this material, they shared their specific system, their techniques, and these pretty significant claims about, well, dramatic results they've seen.
So our mission here is pretty straightforward, really. We want to extract the absolute core ideas presented by these experts, specifically from this source material.
Yeah, understand what these concepts, law of attraction, manifestation, emotional healing, actually mean through their lens.
Right. Explore the how and why behind the claims they're making, and maybe pull out the practical takeaways you can consider from this material.
Whether you find these ideas immediately resonate, or maybe you're approaching them with a bit of skepticism.
Which is totally fair.
Yeah, totally. There's a framework here that's worth exploring, regardless. Okay, let's unpack this then.
So the source kicks off with what many people probably think law of attraction, or Loe, is.
Yeah.
Like a really simple idea.
Think good, good happens.
Be happy, happiness comes, that kind of thing. And they do note that millions supposedly claim to have gotten results this way.
Which naturally brings up the biggest point of skepticism, doesn't it? And
Yeah.
the source actually tackles this head on.
It does.
If it's just thinking, like, where does action fit in? Can just thinking about something really change your reality? It's the most common pushback.
And a fair one, like you said.
Uh,
And this is where their framework gets interesting. They're very clear.
yeah.
It's not just thinking. They lay out this four-part system, a sequence.
Mm-hmm.
Feel, think, believe, act. They actually call it FTBA.
FTBA. Okay, so the act part isn't just tagged on the end. It's like essential to their whole model.
Precisely. It's integral. And the key insight they really emphasize is that positive thinking isn't the only step, but it's what helps you take positive action.
Right. It fuels the action.
Exactly. They argue it's the combination, the synergy of all four that creates these powerful results. They even pose the question, why might someone work incredibly hard, put in all the hours, all the effort, and still not get the results they want?
Hmm.
According to this source, it could be because they're missing or maybe neglecting those crucial feeling and thinking bits that actually fuel and direct effective action.
Okay, that definitely reframes it. So for you listening, the takeaway here from their perspective isn't just think positive and sit back. It's this whole integrated approach. Cultivating the right feeling and thinking, that leads to belief, which then empowers the right kind of action. It's a different way to look at that connection between your inner state and your outward effort.
And moving a bit deeper into the source material, they point out a really critical mistake people often make,
What's that?
focusing only on manifesting material goals, specific things, getting that specific job, attracting one particular person, hitting an exact income figure.
Right, the tangible stuff. And they argue the downside of only chasing those material outcomes is, well, pretty significant.
Yeah, it can lead to disappointment, even depression, apparently,
Yeah,
both before you get the goal, if you're struggling,
which makes sense.
and potentially after you get it, if it doesn't actually deliver the lasting happiness or fulfillment you thought it would.
Ah, okay. That's interesting. The after part, too.
Which brings us to their powerful alternative view.
Uh-huh.
The true target, the ultimate goal, is always the emotion you want to feel.
Ah, the feeling again. They used that great analogy, didn't they? The 10 taps thing.
Yes. If you're thirsty, your goal is just to get water,
Right.
right? Don't fixate on getting it from tap number 2
Oh,
specifically.
just get the water.
Focus on the outcome, quenching your thirst, getting the water, which is like the desired emotion. And it might show up through tap number 7 or tap number 9, pathways you wouldn't even have seen if you were just staring at tap 2.
Okay, so this is a major shift in focus for you to consider based on this source. Moving from what you want, how you want to feel when you actually get it.
And the idea they really push is trying to feel happy or fulfilled or whatever it is before the external thing even manifests.
And applying this to relationships, they advise against like manifesting a specific person.
Correct. Instead, focus on manifesting the feeling you desire in a relationship. Maybe it's companionship, deep trust, mutual adventure, whatever those core relationship emotions are for you.
That makes sense.
And they make a good point that relationship emotions should evolve, right? Move beyond just that initial spark or love to include things like transparency, feeling safe, mutual support as time goes on.
So how do you get clear on that feeling? Did they suggest anything practical?
Yeah, the Force suggests an exercise. Write down your material goal, whatever it is, but then right after, list how you honestly want to feel living with that goal, say a month after you've achieved it.
Ah, okay. Not the initial excitement, but the day-to-day feeling.
Exactly. It helps bypass that immediate buzz and hone in on the sustainable, routine emotional state you're really after.
Okay. And the source tries to back this up, right? Pointing to how they see this mindset in successful people, sharing some stories.
Yes, absolutely. They talked about results seen in their own program participants, people landing jobs they wanted, individuals reporting that suicidal thoughts actually stopped.
Wow.
Relationships improving dramatically, businesses expanding, significant claims.
They also mentioned some public figures, didn't they? Like Gukesh, the chess champion.
Yeah, Gukesh, who became the youngest world chess champion.
Oh, wow.
They noted a video where he declared this goal when he was much younger, and Diljit Dosanjh, the artist, who apparently writes down future successes, approaching them almost as things he already knows are going to happen.
That knowing energy.
In that classic story they mentioned about Walt Disney, he worked his whole life on Disneyland, faced tons of rejection, but passed away before it actually opened.
Right.
And his brother's famous words at the opening ceremony were, essentially, Walt saw it. That is why you are seeing it now.
See, that story, it really hints at something deeper, doesn't it? And it connects to a concept they introduced called the four-dimensional world, or 4D.
Right. They describe this 4D world as a realm operating beyond our usual logic, beyond space and time, where manifestation actually happens.
Okay.
It's about inviting support from, well, a higher power, the universe, whatever term resonates with you, God, Allah, Source. The idea is that by kind of surrendering some of that tight logical control, things can often fall into place in really unexpected ways.
Okay, but that brings up a really practical question. If two people are both, say, manifesting and working hard for the same thing, a job, a competition win, why does one succeed and the other maybe doesn't?
That's a great question. And their explanation from the source points to a subtle difference in the underlying belief and the energy.
How so?
One person, they suggest, is operating from the feeling and the inner knowledge that it has already happened in that 4D realm, that non-physical space.
Okay, like it's already done.
While the other person is still rooted in the mindset of it hasn't happened yet, I have to make it happen through sheer force. And that subtle internal state, they claim, makes all the difference.
It really makes you think about people you observe who seem to succeed, doesn't it? Does that kind of posture, that quiet confidence or sense of already having it, resonate with how they carry themselves? It's definitely something to consider based on their perspective.
Now, they also tackle a really major barrier for a lot of people trying to apply these ideas.
Which is,
what about deep childhood trauma? Old emotional scars? Just overwhelming negativity? How can someone who's maybe lost hope even begin to cultivate positive feelings or belief?
that's a huge piece, yeah. And the source acknowledges that for many, you can't just jump to positive thinking. You need to address and release that negativity to heal first.
Exactly. And the technique they introduced for this is called Ho'oponopono. They present it as a powerful Hawaiian practice.
Right. They shared that that widely circulated story about a Dr. Hugh Len.
Yes, the one who supposedly used this technique while working at a mental hospital for the criminally insane.
And the claim, which is pretty extraordinary, is that he healed violent patients, leading to the hospital completely shutting down within about a year.
All allegedly without directly interacting with the patients themselves, only by working on his own internal state using this technique while reviewing their files. It's a remarkable claim presented in the source, for sure.
So what is the technique itself?
Well, the heart of it, surprisingly simple on the surface, is 4 core statements. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. Thank you. I love you.
Just those 4.
Just those 4. But the source really emphasizes the profound power they attribute to these simple phrases.
And the applications they claim are huge, right? Healing physical issues, emotional wounds, financial problems, relationship difficulties, mental distress.
Pretty much the whole spectrum. The practice they describe involves chanting these 4 statements, maybe 108 times a day, perhaps twice a day.
Chanting them.
Yeah. And they also mentioned something called an advanced conversational method, which they claim can lead to really deep emotional releases, even tears of joy, which the expert apparently demonstrated.
Okay, so chanting, I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. Let's get into the science behind this as it's presented in the source material. How do they explain words and emotions actually impacting reality? How does that connect back to Hope Abono?
Right. They lean quite heavily on the work of Dr. Masaru Emoto and his famous water experiments.
Oh yeah, I've heard of those.
According to the source, Dr. Emoto wrote words like love and hate on containers of water, then froze them. And the resulting ice crystals, they claim, were drastically different.
How so?
Beautiful, structured like a diamond for the water exposed to love, and chaotic or, quote, ugly for the water exposed to hate.
Hmm. And they mentioned other experiments too, right, with rice.
Yes, they cited experiments with rice in jars showing different rates of decay or fungus growth, depending on whether words like love or hate were spoken or written on the jars. And even plant regrowth examples, as further evidence they present for the power of words and intention on physical matter.
Okay, so how do they connect that water experiment to us?
Well, the link they make is straightforward. Our bodies, they state, are about 70% water.
Right.
So the words we use, the thoughts and emotions we consistently hold, are supposedly impacting the cellular structure inside us, just like the water in Moto's jars.
So negative energy, negative words create negative patterns in the body, leading to maybe disease.
That's the argument they make, yes, potentially leading to physical ailments or disease over time.
So the power they attribute to the Ho'oponopono words, sorry, forgive me, thank you, love you, is that they carry these really high positive frequencies.
Described as God-level frequencies, yeah. I'm sorry and please forgive me represent humility, taking responsibility. Thank you is gratitude. I love you is seen as the highest frequency of all.
So chanting them is like, what do they call it? An apishik?
Yeah, like a cleansing ritual, an internal shower, washing away the negativity held within your own system.
Okay. This framework also leads into the idea of emotional buttons or triggers.
Yes, exactly. We all have them, they suggest. Areas where it's super easy to get triggered into a negative emotion, anger, frustration, sadness.
Yeah, definitely.
And maybe other areas where it's surprisingly difficult to activate a positive one, like joy or peace. And they argue we often unconsciously condition ourselves to have very sensitive negative triggers.
They shared some relatable stories here too, like the couple whose relationship was struggling because they'd unconsciously made the buttons for feeling loved by their partner incredibly hard to press.
Right, like needing grand gestures constantly, making it almost impossible for the partner to succeed.
Or my own example, they mentioned having an easy irritation button. Whenever my partner disagreed with an idea I had, it was almost automatic.
So the strategy they propose is pretty clear. Become conscious of these buttons. Actively work to make your positive emotional triggers easier to hit and the negative ones much harder to activate.
Make the good feelings easy, the bad feelings hard. Seems simple, but how? Did they offer a practical method?
They did. They offered a formula, the 2S2C formula. That's 2 steps to stop a negative pattern and 2 steps to create a positive one.
Okay, 2S2C. What are the steps?
All right, first, to stop the negative pattern. Step 1 is take radical responsibility. Recognize that the trigger response is your pattern, your button, not just the other person or situation making you feel that way.
Okay, own your reaction.
Step 2, interrupt the pattern. Do something physical, change your posture, take a deep breath, maybe snap your fingers. Just break the automatic state.
Okay, stop the autopilot. Then what?
Then, to create the positive state. Step 3 is choose the emotion you want to feel and intentionally create the body language that embodies that emotion. Stand tall for confidence, smile for happiness, etc.
Act as if?
Kinda, yeah. And step 4 is create the vocabulary. This means speaking about it as though you are feeling it now, not wanting it in the future. So instead of, I wish I could be calm, you'd say, maybe internally or out loud, I feel calm and centered.
Interesting. I feel loved instead of I want to feel loved.
Precisely, speaking it into the present.
It makes you pause and think, doesn't it? Like, are you aware of your own quick trigger buttons? How might consciously applying a framework like 2S2C actually change how you navigate those difficult moments day to day?
And the conversation in the source also touches on an even deeper layer. What's really driving all this attraction in the first place? According to this material, your deepest underlying emotional needs are actually defining your destiny and shaping what you're attracting into your life.
Emotional needs. Like what?
They link this to a set of 7 needs, often associated with the chakra system. Security, variety or change, significance or importance, love and connection, growth, contribution or service, and maybe intuition or spiritual connection.
So security, change, importance, love, growth, service, connection, 7 core needs.
Right. And the impact, they argue, is that people or situations or even things that consistently meet your top emotional needs become incredibly attractive, almost addictive to you.
Ah.
Your personal hierarchy of these needs, which ones are most important to you right now, subtly influences everything you draw into your life. They mentioned a story of a young woman who consciously decided to prioritize love higher on her list.
And she attracted a relationship.
Apparently so, yes. Though they also noted that relationship brought its own lessons later on, which is also part of the process.
Okay. And the key insight here is that these needs are fundamentally about emotions, not about material stuff.
Exactly. It always comes back to the feeling. So addressing and maybe consciously reprioritizing your needs hierarchy is presented as a way to attract your desired outcomes more effortlessly, because you're aligning with the deepest emotional drivers within you.
They suggested a simple exercise for this too, didn't they? For you listening.
Yeah, just taking a moment now or later and reflecting. From those 7 needs we listed, security, change, importance, love, growth, service, connection, which ones genuinely feel like your top 3 driving forces right now?
Just identifying them.
Just knowing that, from their perspective, is a huge piece of self-awareness. It gives you insight into why certain things pull you in so strongly.
They also added another angle to this, didn't they? Something about what you don't want.
Oh, right, yes. Creating an I don't want to feel list. Being consciously aware of the emotions you actively want to avoid feeling is just as crucial, they argue, as knowing what you do want to feel.
Why is that?
Because without clarity on what you want to steer away from emotionally, you might just unconsciously keep attracting situations that trigger those unwanted feelings. You haven't consciously decided against them.
Okay, so thinking about both sides, the emotions you crave and the emotions you really want to consciously avoid gives you a much clearer map of your own emotional landscape.
And that map, according to this material, is fundamental. It's what shapes your external reality.
Right. Okay, so let's try and bring this all together. We've explored quite a bit from the source material, started with the basic premise of law of attraction as they define it.
Highlighting how they really pivot the focus away from just material goals towards the absolutely crucial role of emotions.
We touched on the anecdotal evidence they provided, citing claims of dramatic results in people's lives, jobs, health, relationships, and drawing connections to seemingly successful public figures.
We then got into the Ho'oponopono technique, presented as a method for healing and releasing negativity. And we looked at the, unconventional science they cited to support it.
Yeah, involving water structure, the power of words, leaning on Dr. Emoto's work.
We also covered some practical tools they offer for managing your internal state, like identifying those emotional triggers and using that 2S2C formula.
And finally, landing on this concept that your underlying emotional needs might be the true drivers, the real magnets for what you attract into your life.
It's definitely a range of ideas. Some might feel more familiar or, intuitive than others.
For sure.
And as the source itself kind of implied, some of these concepts might require a different way of looking at the world, maybe even a leap of faith for some listeners. And that's perfectly okay. Our aim here was really just to accurately reflect and distill the specific frameworks and claims presented within the material you shared.
Yeah, you came here wanting to understand what was most important in this source. We've unpacked their specific system, their techniques for attracting goals, for healing the past, for attempting to master your emotional state, giving you a direct look into their particular perspective.
So, maybe to leave you with a final thought to chew on, building on everything we've just discussed from their viewpoint.
Okay.
Can the act of deliberately cultivating the feeling of success or fulfillment or peace or whatever it is you're after, cultivating that feeling in the present moment rather than solely fixating on the eventual arrival of some future external goal, can doing that fundamentally alter not just the outcomes you achieve, but the very texture, the quality of your daily experience right now?
That's a powerful question to sit with. And the source did mention specific things you could explore further if you're curious, right? Like those experiments with water and rice and the work of people like Dr. Emoto or Dr. Joe Vitale, who's also associated with Ho'oponopono.
Definitely. Plenty there to ponder and perhaps even experiment with cautiously in your own life if any of it